CNN's Atlanta studio pulses with tension. Technicians move silently through the control room, adjusting camera angles and levels. Across the globe, millions tune in, from Lagos to London, from Mexico City to Mumbai. The screen splits between two men, one seated in a sleek Washington studio, the other behind a presidential desk in Ouagadougou. This is not just an interview. It is history unfolding in real time. In the sterile confines of a government studio, Kash Patel adjusts his tie with practiced ease. He smirks at his reflection in the monitor. Years of intelligence work have sharpened him into a master manipulator. He's prepared for this. He'll dominate the narrative, dismiss the young African leader as inexperienced, and reassert American dominance. He leans back, crosses his legs, confident, in control. Across the Atlantic, President IBRAHIM Traoré sits still before the camera. His face reveals nothing. A folder labeled Top Secret rests beside him. His aides exchange glances. They know what's inside. They know what he's about to do. Traoré exhales slowly. Then, without breaking eye contact with the lens, he places both hands on the table. Ready. The anchor's voice cuts through the silence. Anderson Cooper, seasoned and sharp, sets the tone. Tonight, we're joined by CIA Director Kash Patel and President IBRAHIM Traoré for a discussion on security cooperation in the Sahel. The camera pans between them. Two men, two continents, one moment that will redefine global power. Traoré speaks first, calm, measured. He slides documents onto the screen, bank transfers, satellite images, audio transcripts. The numbers flash. Millions of dollars, Swiss accounts, military bases. Patel's smirk fades. His eyes narrow. He didn't expect this. Mr. Patel, Traoré says, do you recognize these account numbers? The screen fills with data. Patel stammers, denies, claims forgery, but Traoré counters. Verified by Swiss banks. Verified by your Treasury Department. Silence falls. No one speaks. Anderson Cooper leans forward. Patel wipes sweat from his brow. The world holds its breath. The CNN control room freezes. Producers watch in stunned disbelief. In Washington, journalists scramble for confirmation. On social media, speculation explodes. Expose Patel trends globally. Patel's breathing quickens. His hands tremble. He removes his microphone, stands, walks away. He leaves the stage. The broadcast continues without him. Traoré remains, calm, unshaken. The camera lingers on Patel's abandoned chair, empty, symbolic. A man who once held immense power has just lost it. Live on television. Cut to footage of FBI agents swarming CIA headquarters. Helicopter shots show armored vehicles pulling up outside Langley. Text scrolls across the screen. Breaking: federal agents raid CIA headquarters following explosive revelations. The world knows something has changed, and it's only the beginning. The Sahel is burning. Smoke rises from collapsed governments shattered by coups and insurgencies. Terrorist cells multiply like wildfire, carving out zones of lawlessness across West Africa. The world watches, but few understand the true forces at play. Officially, American boots on the ground are there for counterterrorism. Unofficially, something darker stirs beneath the surface. A network of power, profit, and betrayal. A former soldier turned president, Traoré rose through the ranks not with inherited privilege but with raw determination. He seized power after a military coup, promising transparency and sovereignty. Unlike his predecessors, he doesn't hide behind polished speeches or diplomatic games. He sees corruption as a virus, and he intends to cut it out. His rise unsettles Western allies who preferred leaders they could control. But Traoré isn't interested in being a puppet. He wants truth, and he's willing to pay the price for it. In Langley, Virginia, Kash Patel operates in the shadows. A man of silence and secrets, he built his career on classified missions and strategic deniability. To many, he was untouchable, a master manipulator who shaped intelligence policy from behind closed doors. His name never made headlines. That was the point. Patel understood that real power wasn't about public recognition. It was about unseen influence. But now, that influence is under threat, and he doesn't know it yet. But the young African leader has already seen through the veil. Flashbacks reveal Patel testifying before Congress, assuring lawmakers of the CIA's clean hands in Africa. "We operate within strict ethical guidelines," he says, eyes unwavering. The camera cuts to encrypted messages exchanged between Patel and unnamed operatives, coded references to off-book operations, payments disguised as humanitarian aid, weapons shipments masked as medical supplies. The documents show names, dates, locations. One message reads, "Operation African Cleansing progressing as planned." Patel signs off with a simple code, "Approved. Proceed." Traoré receives a cryptic message, "No sender, just data." At first, it looks like conspiracy theory material, bank transfers, intercepted calls, satellite images. But when cross-referenced with internal Burkina intelligence, patterns emerge. A global criminal network using CIA assets, drugs, weapons, human trafficking flowing through routes controlled by American intelligence. Traoré's team digs deeper. What starts as suspicion becomes undeniable truth. Someone inside the CIA is feeding them this information. But why? Burkina Faso's intelligence unit uncovers the full scale of the operation. It's not just about destabilizing regimes. It's about profit. Arms deals funded by drug trafficking, human smuggling networks protected by US-backed militias. The CIA isn't fighting terrorism, it's funding it. The evidence piles up: financial records, audio files, photographs. In one image, Patel stands beside crates marked with cartel insignias. Another shows a US base in Mali, where armed men load cargo under the watchful eye of an American officer. This isn't covert action, it's organized crime. A secret meeting takes place in Ouagadougou. Traoré sits across from a hooded figure, a former CIA analyst turned whistleblower. The room is silent except for the hum of a secure recording device. The source places a flash drive on the table. "This contains everything," he whispers. Patel sold classified information, including the identities of undercover agents. Traoré inserts the drive into a secure laptop. Files appear, names of CIA officers compromised, locations of black sites, transcripts of Patel negotiating with cartel leaders. The final document confirms what they feared: 23 agents executed because of him. Then comes the call. Patel himself requests a joint interview on CNN. The official reason: to clear up misunderstandings about security cooperation in the Sahel. Traoré studies the request carefully. His aides warn him. It's a trap. Patel is known for manipulation, not diplomacy. But Traoré sees opportunity. If Patel wants a stage, he'll give him one. He'll let Patel walk into the spotlight, only to pull the rug out from under him. The young African leader smiles coldly. Perfect. We'll give him exactly what he asked for. Was this a calculated move by Patel to discredit Traoré? Or the moment the young African leader would expose a monster on live television? In the dim glow of his Langley office, Kash Patel rehearses lines in front of a mirror. His reflection is cold, calculated. A man who has spent decades mastering the art of deception. He practices each word with precision. "Young leader," he murmurs, "unstable, anti-American, misguided." He wants to frame Traoré as reckless, inexperienced, a coup-driven populist unfit for global diplomacy. But beneath the surface, Patel knows this isn't just politics. It's survival. He's not going into debate. He's going in to control the narrative. And if necessary, destroy his opponent before the world. Thousands of miles away, deep beneath the presidential palace in Ouagadougou, IBRAHIM Traoré and his intelligence team pore over final evidence. The room is silent except for the hum of encrypted servers and the rustle of classified documents. Photos of CIA aircraft loading cocaine, transfers of millions into offshore accounts, intercepted calls between Patel and cartel leaders. Every piece is verified, Cross-referenced, confirmed. There's no room for error. Traoré closes a thick dossier labeled Operation African Cleansing and looks up. This isn't about one man, he says quietly. It's about exposing an entire system built on lies. A flash drive is inserted into a secure laptop. Files appear, military records showing U.S. bases used for drug trafficking, financial logs tracing payments from cartel accounts to American officials, video footage of Patel personally overseeing a shipment at a CIA base in Mali. The whistleblower leans forward. I've seen men like him before, he whispers. They don't see themselves as criminals. They see themselves as untouchable. Traoré nods slowly. Then we'll show them what real power looks like. Cryptic message arrives on Patel's burner phone. No sender, just 3 words. He knows more than you think. Patel frowns. His fingers hover over the delete key. He considers calling someone but stops himself. He's been in tighter spots. He's always come out on top. He shrugs it off. Arrogance outweighs caution. He tells himself the same thing. He's repeated for years. No one can touch me. Newsrooms around the world buzz with anticipation. Analysts speculate on CNN's live broadcast. Political theater, one commentator claims. A manufactured confrontation meant to distract from domestic issues. Others whisper of blackmail, secret deals, hidden motives. Conspiracy theories bloom across social media. Expose Traoré trends briefly, until new hashtags begin to take over. CIA leaks. Kash Patel exposed. But no one suspects the full truth. Not yet. Not even the most seasoned journalists. In Washington, Patel reviews his strategy one last time. He walks through potential counterattacks. Discredit the source, challenge the timeline, redirect the narrative. He practices walking off stage, composed, defiant. In Africa, Traoré stands before his team. This won't just destroy one man, he says firmly. It will expose a system. His aides nod. One asks, what if he tries to turn the tables? Traoré smiles grimly. Let him try. The day of the interview arrives. CNN's Atlanta. Studio pulses with tension. Technicians adjust camera angles. Producers double-check feeds to 89 countries. Across the Atlantic, Traoré sits calmly behind his desk, the Burkina Faso flag beside him. Patel adjusts his tie in a sterile government studio, rehearsing his final lines. 2 men, 2 continents. One moment that will redefine global power. The countdown begins. Lights dim. Cameras roll. Anderson Cooper takes his seat. The world watches. The stage is set. And the truth waits in the wings. One man enters the studio expecting to dominate the narrative. The other leaves knowing he's about to shatter it forever. The CNN studio pulses with tension. Anderson Cooper sits between 2 men who represent vastly different worlds. One built on secrecy, the other on truth. The camera pans across the split screen. Patel in Washington, confident and polished. Traoré in Ouagadougou, composed and unshaken. Millions watch worldwide, unaware they're about to witness a seismic shift in global power. Patel smiles into the camera, exuding practiced charm. There are distorted narratives about the CIA's role in Africa, he says smoothly. We want to demonstrate our real commitment to regional stability and genuine partnerships. His voice is steady, his tone diplomatic. He glances at the camera as if addressing not just Traoré, but the world. But before he can finish, Traoré interrupts, calm, measured, and devastatingly direct. Mr. Patel, Traoré says, sliding documents onto the screen. Do you recognize these Swiss bank account numbers? Numbers flash. Millions of dollars transferred over months. Patel stammers, denies, claims forgery, but Traoré counters. Verified by Swiss banks, verified by your Treasury Department. The color drains from Patel's face. Sweat beads on his forehead. Anderson Cooper leans forward, realizing something extraordinary is unfolding. More images appear. Aerial shots of a U.S. military base in Mali. Patel stands beside crates being loaded onto a CIA aircraft. The date flashes, May 15th, 2025. Patel tries to dismiss it as deepfake technology, but Traoré cuts him off. "This is not fake," he says. "It's a full 47-minute recording of your conversation with an American colonel about clearing distribution routes." The video plays. Patel's voice is unmistakable. He gives orders, names locations, confirms shipments. Silence falls over the studio. Traoré shifts focus. "Drugs are only part of the operation," he says, revealing another set of files. "Meet Operation Human Market." The screen fills with names, routes, destinations. 247 women and children trafficked across continents. He continues. "Sold into prostitution and slave labor rings controlled by Mr. Patel." Patel begins to shake. His hands tremble. He wipes sweat from his brow. The world watches as the mask cracks. Traoré presses forward. Audio files play, recordings of Patel negotiating with cartel leaders, discussing unit pricing, and optimized delivery routes for human cargo. Another file reveals Patel selling classified information, the locations of American military bases, to Mexican cartels in exchange for protection. 23 agents executed because of you, Traoré says coldly. "Their deaths are on your conscience." Patel stares into the camera, eyes wide, mouth open. He whispers something no one hears. Patel's breathing quickens. His fingers twitch uncontrollably. He removes his microphone, stands, walks away. The camera lingers on his abandoned chair. Empty, symbolic. A man once untouchable has just been stripped bare in front of the world. Traoré remains seated watching Patel flee like a wounded animal. Anderson Cooper struggles to regain control of the broadcast. The world watches, stunned. CNN breaks into emergency coverage. Breaking news scrolls across the bottom of the screen. Breaking: CIA director fleeing studio amid explosive allegations. Social media explodes. Expose Patel trends globally. Protesters gather outside CIA headquarters. Families of trafficking victims speak out. Governments demand answers. Within minutes, federal agents swarm Langley. Patel's name appears on wanted posters. The interview ends, but the story has only just begun. One man walks away from the interview stage but will never walk free again. Within minutes of the CNN broadcast ending, federal agents swarm Langley. Black SUVs screech to a halt outside CIA headquarters. Agents in tactical gear pour out, warrants in hand. The building falls silent as employees are ordered to remain at their desks. Computers are seized, files confiscated. Panic spreads through the corridors of power. Patel's home is surrounded by local police. Surveillance drones circle overhead. A man who once controlled America's most powerful intelligence agency now finds himself under arrest, not by enemies abroad, but by his own country. Footage of Patel fleeing the studio replays endlessly across platforms. Protesters gather outside CIA buildings in Washington and Virginia. Hashtags trend worldwide. Expose Patel. Traoré effect. Truth is universal. In Lagos, Nairobi, São Paulo, and London, citizens share clips of the interview, dissecting every word. Memes mock Patel's failed escape. TikTok videos overlay his image with the text, "Trafficker, traitor, fallen." Within hours, millions demand justice. The internet becomes a battleground for truth and accountability. Lawmakers demand answers. Committees form overnight. Patel's name appears on wanted posters issued by the Department of Justice. Dozens of officials implicated in the scandal resign or go into hiding. Capitol Hill buzzes with chaos. One senator, visibly shaken, tells reporters, "This isn't just about one man. This is about systemic rot inside our national security apparatus." Congressional investigators begin combing through financial records, classified memos, and internal communications. The hearings will be televised and the world will be watching. Across the continent, citizens demand accountability. Families of trafficking victims speak out, sharing stories of stolen children, vanished loved ones, and shattered lives. In Ouagadougou, thousands march past the presidential palace, carrying banners that read, We are not commodities. No, more lies. Justice for all. Burkina Faso becomes a symbol of resistance, proof that a nation can stand up to global corruption and win. Other African leaders issue statements condemning American interference. Some call for reparations. Others vow to sever ties with Western intelligence agencies. Cartel survivors come forward in Mexico, Colombia, and Guatemala. Mexican authorities open investigations into Patel's alleged dealings with drug lords. His name surfaces in multiple countries linked to arms smuggling, money laundering, and political assassinations. In Cancun, a former cartel accountant steps forward. I saw him negotiate. He wasn't scared, he was in charge. In Bogotá, families of murdered activists demand extradition. Across Latin America, protests erupt outside U.S. embassies. Flags burn. Chants echo. No more blood on American hands. Swiss banks freeze accounts linked to the scandal. EU regulators demand explanations. Interpol issues international arrest warrants for Patel and several unnamed accomplices. Financial watchdogs in Germany, France, and the Netherlands launched joint investigations into offshore transactions tied to the CIA. One European official declares, "We were lied to, manipulated, used." The fallout threatens to destabilize transatlantic relations. In Brussels, diplomats debate whether to suspend intelligence sharing agreements with the United States until full transparency is achieved. Honest agents begin cooperating. One admits, "We suspected corruption, but never this scale." Interviews reveal deep divisions within the agency, between those who followed orders blindly and those who questioned what they saw. One field officer confesses, "I knew something was off. I just didn't know how deep it went." Internal audits uncover falsified reports, missing funds, and unauthorized operations stretching back years. A senior analyst reveals, "There were whispers. But if you asked too many questions, you disappeared." Now the silence breaks, and the floodgates open. More names, more recordings, judicial assassinations, bribery schemes. The conspiracy runs deeper than anyone imagined. Traoré releases a new wave of documents, some marked eyes only, others stamped top secret. They show direct links between Patel and high-ranking U.S. officials, including senators, generals, and corporate executives. One file confirms the assassination of a federal judge investigating money laundering. Another details secret meetings between Patel and cartel leaders planning military sabotage. Each revelation sparks a new round of arrests, resignations, and public outrage. And still, the story unfolds, not in the shadows, but under the blinding light of global scrutiny. One interview shattered an empire of lies. Now the world demands to know, who else was complicit? The prison is silent except for the distant clang of steel doors. Kash Patel sits alone in a maximum security cell, awaiting trial on over 70 charges: treason, human trafficking, murder, and systemic corruption. 47 officials have already been charged. 3 senators, 5 generals. The man who once controlled America's most powerful intelligence agency now wears an orange jumpsuit, staring at concrete walls that echo with the weight of his own downfall. Outside, protests demand life sentences. Inside, even guards refuse to acknowledge him. His silence speaks louder than any confession ever could. Langley, Virginia. The CIA headquarters hums under new leadership. Transparency protocols are introduced. Oversight committees expand. Whistleblower protections strengthen. The agency is being rebuilt from the inside out, not by politicians, but by those who saw its rot up close. Honest agents step forward, revealing hidden files, falsified reports, and unauthorized operations. One analyst admits, there were whispers. But if you asked too many questions, you disappeared. Now, the silence breaks, and the floodgates open. The war room becomes a classroom. The shadows give way to light, not as a target, not as a suspect, but as a guest speaker at the CIA's first ever Ethics and Integrity Summit. The auditorium falls silent as IBRAHIM Traoré walks onto the stage. A standing ovation erupts. He looks out at rows of intelligence officers, diplomats, and reformers. People who once saw him as a threat now see him as a symbol. Truth, he says, is not a weapon. It is not a tool for manipulation. It is the foundation of trust between nations, between leaders, and between people. The words hang in the air like a promise. Back in Ouagadougou, the streets pulse with energy. Citizens march past the presidential palace carrying banners. We are not commodities. No more lies. Justice for all. Burkina Faso has become a global model of transparent governance. The Traoré effect spreads across Africa. Nigeria launches anti-corruption investigations. Ghana reforms its intelligence services. South Africa restructures its judiciary. From Cape Town to Cairo, young leaders rise, unprincipled, unafraid, unwilling to compromise justice for power. What began as one interview has sparked a movement, and it's only just beginning. At the White House, President Biden presents IBRAHIM Traoré with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, America's highest civilian honor. The crowd rises. Traoré steps forward, calm and composed. "This medal belongs not to me," he says, "but to every victim of silence. Truth is universal. So is justice." Applause echoes through the East Room. A child survivor of human trafficking stands beside him, holding a white rose. Cameras capture the moment, a quiet triumph after years of suffering. The world watches, and something shifts. The world begins to heal. Not fully, not yet, but the foundation is laid. Justice has a new face and a new leader. In Washington, new policies emerge: stricter oversight, stronger international cooperation, renewed commitment to ethical intelligence. In Africa, citizens reclaim their governments from corruption. In Latin America, cartel survivors find refuge. Across Europe, financial watchdogs tighten regulations. And in classrooms around the world, students study the interview that changed history, not as fiction, but as fact. A single act of courage, a live broadcast, a truth too powerful to be buried. One man stood up to power, and the world followed. The screen flickers with a montage of global moments, fragments of truth, justice, and healing. News clips show FBI agents seizing boxes of classified documents from CIA headquarters. Protest footage captures crowds outside U.S. embassies, in Lagos, Nairobi, and Mexico City, chanting for accountability. Interviews with survivors play. Mothers holding their children, once lost to trafficking, now returned home. A young girl smiles into the camera, her voice trembling but clear. "I was sold when I was 10. Now I'm free." In Ouagadougou, families gather under a banner that reads, "We are not commodities." In Washington, D.C., former CIA officers testify before Congress, revealing the depth of corruption they once ignored. In Cancun, cartel survivors embrace as a judge announces life sentences for drug lords who thought they'd never face justice. Across continents, the ripple of one man's downfall spreads, not like a wave, but like fire. A narrator's voice cuts through the images, calm, reflective, carrying the weight of history. Truth is not always loud. It does not always announce itself. Sometimes it waits in silence, buried beneath lies, hidden behind power, waiting for someone brave enough to speak it. The screen shows IBRAHIM Traoré standing alone at a podium, addressing a global summit on transparency. His voice echoes over the narration. Truth is universal. So is justice. The narrator continues. Kash Patel built his empire on secrecy, control, and fear. He believed he was untouchable, but he underestimated the courage of a leader who knew that real power isn't found in silence, it's found in speaking. Truth to it. Footage replays the CNN interview. Patel's stunned expression, his shaking hands, the moment he removes his microphone and walks away. The world watches again, this time not as spectators but as witnesses. The camera pans across a village in Burkina Faso, once abandoned, now rebuilt. Children run barefoot through the streets, chasing each other with laughter. A woman waves from her doorway, smiling. In the center of it all, Ibrahim Traoré walks slowly, hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning the faces around him. A little boy tugs at his coat. Traoré kneels, listens, then nods. He places a hand on the boy's shoulder and stands. He keeps walking, not as a hero, not as a savior, but as a leader who understands that change doesn't come from a single act. It comes from persistence, from resilience, from refusing to look away. The camera lingers on a small schoolhouse where students sit at wooden desks, writing in notebooks. On the chalkboard, the word "justice" is written in large letters. Outside, a mural stretches across the wall, painted by local artists. It shows a man holding a torch illuminating the darkness. Beneath it, a message reads, "From truth, light." The music fades, the images blur, the screen goes dark. Silence fills the space. Not emptiness, stillness. A moment of reflection, of reckoning. Then slowly white text appears against the black background. Each line appears with deliberate weight. No embellishment, no fanfare, just names, lives, stories that were nearly erased. And a final reminder: this was not fiction. This was not exaggeration. This was the cost of silence and the price of truth. The screen holds on the final line, then fades again. The documentary ends, but the story lives on, in classrooms, courtrooms, boardrooms, and living rooms, around the world. No credits roll, no music swells, only the lingering echo of a question asked long ago, and finally answered.